take this eye off. Shawn's trying to come on. Let's hold on a second. Gotta get this little thing off. There we go. Shawn. Which one are you on, Shawn? Okay, well, hello everybody. Welcome to the Stand with Meg show. I didn't get to finish curling my hair, so I'll be doing that in a little bit. While we're watching the show. So today we are premiering, changing my glasses, premiering episode. Hello, Shawn, I can't hear you. And will you clean your camera on your, there you go. Clean your camera. Much better. All right. How are you today, Shawn?
I am good. I have been working very hard out in my yard.
Good. Good. We are going to do things a little bit different. And this time last week we did the episode and then we answered questions. Today I think we're going to try to see if this works better, where we just like one subject first, the first part of the episode, and then we'll pause it and then people can ask questions. Shawn can go into more detail if he wants, and all that fun jazz. Oh, I was like, don't yawn on me, but you are.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm like, don't yawn on me. You were. Hold on. I'm trying to get back to make sure we're live on everything. Did you connect your channel, Shawn?
I am having some technical difficulty with that.
Are you?
I am. That's what was taking me so long. I was trying to work through that.
Well, I didn't even get my hair curled all the way. It's only half done. So I like your. Bleh. I like this.
Yeah.
Then why don't you go and just go to the Stand with Meg and just share it to your pages.
I am logged in now.
I do like that a lot. I'm posting it too. Hey, Snow Queen, what's up? Michigan, thank you. Yes, when you come in, please tell me what state you're from and please share. Remember, the more we get people to learn what Shawn is teaching us and do it, the better for all of us. So it's really important we share and get people to really understand this process. Oh, good. It just said you're connected, Shawn. So thank you for joining. Ohio. Hi, Sarah from Ohio. We are going to learn some fun stuff. If you're just joining in, we're going to launch episode 6 today, and we're going to do it differently than last time. We're going to, I think Shawn's frozen. Hold on, Shawn. Yeah.
Difficulties.
There you are. Let me delete the other guy that's on here. Oh, there we go. There we go. Some of this state via CPS and some during divorce and etc. Sorry. And then who else is in here? Hi, Mask Girl, Alabama. We have Alabama. I've been down your rabbit hole the last few days, learning about the horrible judges there, and I'm writing a book about it. Actually, one of the judges. So I'm so glad you're here. Let me go check, Shawn. Why don't you you probably don't remember what episode 6 is about. We talk about the co-parenting app. We talk about kind of just give a rundown on what this episode's about. And oh, you're sweet. You love my makeup. Thank you. It's all cheap, like literally Wet and Wild. Like it's the cheapest cheap you can do. Okay.
So is mine.
I know. You need your eyebrows done, that's for sure though. Didn't your daughter
My
say
daughter told me that. My daughter, she's like 19. She's like, Dad, why don't you dye your eyebrows? I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, Hannah, it's very corrupt. Okay, so go ahead. Don't you love teenagers? They're pretty brutally honest with you.
Oh my gosh, if you ever want to know the truth, just ask a teenager.
I miss mine because they would put me in my place for sure. Um, okay, so go ahead and kind of give us a rundown of what we are going to hear today.
Okay, so I am really excited about this one, Meg. We are talking about telehealth fraud. It's a type of white collar crime. People think to themselves, what does telehealth fraud have to do with my family court case? And the answer is everything.
Mhm.
Everything. It's the piece you are missing to your case.
Mhm.
It's widespread, it's rampant, it's relatively new. And so the situation today is telehealth fraud. And the reason that's important, social workers, well, how are they getting their information to their portals? Telehealth.
Mhm.
CAPS investigators, how are they getting their information? Telehealth.
Mhm.
Child abuse and neglect investigators, how are they getting the information? Telehealth. Your
Right.
psychological evaluation, how are they evaluating you? Telehealth.
Mhm.
Okay. And where does all this telehealth come in? It comes into virtual court.
Mhm. I love in Massachusetts. Ashley, Adora, thank you guys. Share and get more people. Share it to any Facebook groups that you're a part of. Oh, and here comes my mom and dad. Oh, sorry, step and dad. I call him step and dad. So we'll probably go to the episode so that I can get off here real quick. Come on in, mom. Hol- Um, hold on. I'm on live, so we hold on. She looks tired. You tired? She looks tired. Um,
Does she have any
so
chickens?
not in her hands. She's bringing me back an empty box.
Oh.
I've been getting about 6 chicken eggs now a day, which is awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, yes, again, share. Why is this important, Shawn, that more than just one person in their state do this or county?
So it's nationwide. It's not your case. It's not your court. It's not your judge. And there's nowhere safe to move to. You can't flee your county and find a place that's not doing this. It's nationwide. It's sprung up simultaneously, universally. Every single place, everywhere's doing the same thing. And that's why people all over the country are complaining about the same thing. And
Mhm.
so there's strength in numbers.
Yep, Ashley just said, "Yep, DCF ordered my psychological and substance evaluations through telehealth."
Of course they did. Of course they did.
Yeah, so we will be talking about that. And actually, next week's episode will be really important for you to hear because he goes in detail more about the the medical and the mental side. That's next week. We're going to be talking. I'll be dropping reels this week about the next episode. Um,
Ashley, you know who else had a tele doctor? Lindsay Clancy.
mm,
Her
did
case,
she?
her prescriptions were prescribed over telehealth.
I didn't know that.
I, I didn't know anything about the Clancy trial while we were building the research on this. We just, but that's typically what I do is I figure out what everybody's doing, and then the greater awareness starts to happen. So I typically figure this stuff out. I have a history doing this. I figure stuff out 1, 2, 3 years ahead of time, and then it starts to spiral into a major case as more and more people become aware.
Yeah, he didn't even know about the Lindsay Clancy because it was funny because when we were during this episode, we were filming it. I was like, "This sounds just like Lindsay Clancy," and he's like, "What?" And so he started looking into it, and he spot on. Yeah, Tara, they do target people. Well, they target people a the good parent because you'll never stop fighting, and b because they just want more money. Emily, okay, let's.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long while. We're gonna read that Ivy, while we're in the show, there's a lot of questions just came in. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, everybody. We'll read those. Oh, Missouri, Franklin. Um,
Oh, the autism stuff. That's big. I could do a whole episode just on autism stuff.
write it down. There's a lot of children with autism nowadays.
Well, you if I tell you why, you will want to throw paperwork again. And so maybe we should do an episode on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me go see if I can share my screen. Hold on.
How do you like the color scheme, by the way, Meg? Sometimes I go white collar, sometimes I go black collar.
I like black on you, but that's just personal preference. And I like your beard. Anyone else think you should go beard again?
Kind of depends on what I need to do for the day.
He didn't even know this was happening today until what, an hour ago.
Yeah.
That's how we roll over here. Go ahead and read those questions, and then Shawn, and then I'm gonna go ahead and
Okay.
start the
Jalen
episode.
Rose.
No, just read it to yourself.
Oh,
That's long. One of them's really long that you'll have to read during our thing. So let's go in. We'll come back in a little bit after he talks about the first subject he's going to focus on. So let me share my screen. Oh, hold on. So yeah, you can log off, Shawn, if you want. Turn your camera off.
are we playing? I'll just be right here.
Okay. Hold on. Now I got that song stuck in my head. Now I have to remember. I have to make sure I have it clicked to play. Let me know, guys, if you can't hear this, okay? Because this is what happened last time. Oh yeah, I can see where I do it now.
I think a good episode would also be on judges. Jalen Rose brings up a good point. Like, how do you become a judge? Why
Mm-hmm.
are you a judge? And then what happens if a judge doesn't do what a judge should do?
Right.
And I know a lot about that. And I feel like people are just drowning because they don't understand how a judge becomes a judge, how to address problems with a judge. And there's multiple channels, so that could be its own episode too.
Yeah. Patty Speakman. Shawn Lee, thank you for the advice. I received the paperwork back from the Western Court. They forwarded it to the appellate court.
Cool.
Megan Miller, did you read the comment I sent over? I don't know, Patty. I'm kind of the one woman show here, so me trying to get everything going, make sure it's working right. I haven't really had time to look at comments. So, but let's start with the first one. I'm gonna go ahead and get me off, and then we'll go.
$500,000 family court case to a lawyer who she had a relationship.
Welcome to the Stand with Meg show. I'm your host, Meg, and today we are with Shawn Lee. Welcome, Shawn.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Shawn is teaching us how to report fraud within the family court system. He is a criminal law attorney, and he specializes in jury trials. He's done a lot, haven't you?
I am a trial lawyer. I have a trial this week. Trials are what I do.
You had one last week, too. Monday and Tuesday, yes, you did. At least, unless you lied. You told me you did. If you go to standwithmeg.com, click on the Shawn Lee report. You'll see his bio, my bio, and what he is teaching us. We also have all the episodes on here. And right now, this is episode 6. This is episode 6. As you know, before when we start these, I have no idea what he's going to teach me. So when I'm learning, you're going to be learning at the same time. So I try really hard to ask those questions that you might have so you can really understand what he's teaching us. So let's get going. What do you have for us today, Shawn?
I'd like to talk to you about willful ignorance and self-deception.
Willful
ignorance.
Okay.
And self-deception.
Okay.
All right.
Like my glasses today?
I do like your glasses. Those are great glasses.
Okay, sorry.
I feel like you can see the fraud because of those glasses.
Yes,
with
I
your
can.
fraud glasses.
I can. Willful ignorance and self-deception. Whom do we blame more? The willfully ignorant or the self-deceived?
So look, these are key terms in the law. Willful ignorance.
And what does that mean?
That means you are ignorant, but you're trying to be ignorant.
Purposely trying to be
Yeah.
stupid?
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
knowingly indifferent,
okay.
willfully ignorant. You're doing your damnedest not to know. All right? And so that describes a lot of the crimes I've illustrated so far with judges and lawyers and various court actors is they know something's going on, but they don't want to actually know.
Okay.
Okay?
What's self-deception?
Self-deception. And so that's where you get these circumstances where victims are crying fraud, victims are calling attention to law enforcement, contacting their legislators, contacting the media, and the judge or the lawyer, whoever it may be, is like, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. And that, there's a terminology for that. Willful ignorance, deliberate indifference. Okay? Part of the reason we put things in front of people is so that later on, when they try and claim I didn't know, you can look back and say, yes, you did. Yes, you did, and you will willfully ignorant and knowingly indifferent.
And that is a charge, or that is a...
That is a tort.
What's a tort?
A tort is a civil remedy, okay? Whenever you injure somebody, you can file a lawsuit. But knowingly indifferent or knowingly ignorant and deliberately indifferent, those also can be evidence of criminal acts.
Oh, okay.
Okay, if you know that the laws are being violated, and remember our conspiracy statutes, okay? There are laws which describe what a conspiracy is. 18 U.S.C. Section 371, conspiracy. If two or more persons conspire either to commit any offense against the United States or to defraud the United States or any agency thereof in any manner or for any purpose, and one or more of such persons do any act to effect the object of the conspiracy, each shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 5 years or both. Okay? So if there's evidence of criminal activity, then turning a blind eye to that evidence is an act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Yep.
And that's why I tell you about willful ignorance. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So there are conspiracy statutes in I believe in every state and federally. The federal conspiracy statute is 18 U.S.C. Section 373, right here.
Yep.
The state of Missouri has a conspiracy statute, RSMO 562.014. The state of Kansas has a conspiracy statute, okay? 21-5302. Some of these people's conspiracy theories are real. And they're statutes because historically we know conspiracies are real. Okay?
Correct. All right. So we're going to pause it there. If you guys have any questions about conspiracy, Shawn will be back in a minute. I didn't tell him when I was popping in and out. There he is.
I'm on.
Okay. So if there's any questions just about that subject, that part of the conspiracy and willfully, all those big words, Shawn, go ahead.
Yeah, so the elements of a conspiracy, they're relatively simple. Okay, it's not a long statute. An agreement to violate the law and act in furtherance. And the act in furtherance does not have to be an illegal act. And so the reason Congress crafted such a broad definition for conspiracy is because they understood that a criminal organization can accomplish much more than one person trying to commit crimes. So when you're trying to potentially say, I've got a conspiracy theory, what I want people to do is look at the statute and then look at some of the conspiracy cases that have been charged and convicted. Because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Okay. You can go and you can look at a complaint that's been filed in a conspiracy case where somebody got convicted, and you can take the information from that and you can apply some of the law and the language and the format and the templates to whatever you got going on.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Shawn. There's a question for you.
Does this include when a judge knowingly with other court actors deliberately hold no actions to motions that have been filed with the courts? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of an ambiguous and broad thing. What I think I hear you asking is what happens if a judge does not either hear a motion or take action on a motion. Look, if a judge doesn't take something up, that's one problem that you have that your lawyer needs to address and just say, look, hey, we need a ruling on this. And if the judge refuses the motion, then that's an appellate issue. So I don't know if that answers the question there.
So here's one. Just I like how she just put conspiracy statute. Tell people how to go find their own state conspiracy statutes.
Yeah, so there's a section of every state's criminal code that says, crimes. And you just go in there, you look at the statutes, and there'll be a conspiracy statute. You could literally Google search it. Like, let's say I'm from Alabama conspiracy statute, and you're probably going to go find the statute that says what a conspiracy is for your state. And you can list that statute. And more importantly, if you go to the law library or you have access to legal search materials, you can find cases that were filed under that conspiracy statute, and then you can use those as templates.
Okay, so answer this real quick, and then
what is the difference between RICO and conspiracy? Well, the answer is not much and a lot. So conspiracy is kind of the little brother of RICO. Two people can conspire to deal drugs or conspire to commit fraud. But RICO is two or more acts in part of a enterprise, an organization. And so the difference
if you
between
have
the
a
two
court actor
is one is kind of, well, they're just different statutes, and so the elements on the statutes are different. They aim at different things.
Okay, real quick, I want to go back to let's see. Sarah, you guys, one thing you need to know, I'm going to go ahead and show you on here. Let me make this big for you to understand. All the documents that Shawn talks about in every episode is on my website. Go to standwithmeg.com, and you're going to click at the top. It's called the Shawn Lee Report, or you can just come down here and you'll see Shawn Lee right here. And then, so we're going to go to the website, and then in there, you're going to click episodes at the top, and then you'll click the episode. And in there's each episodes that we have, and down you can click documents from this episode. So this was last week. She was asking, and look, it even has it time stamped of what time we talked about it, so you can go pull them. And so here was that one that we were talking about.
Thank you for your hard work, Meg. I know that took a lot of effort, and nobody's going to say thank you to you.
Oh, you're sweet. No, it's fine. I'm used to it. You're kind. Thank you, Shawn. That means a lot. Thank you for all your hard work, because you do a lot of this, and he's always working hard to figure out what things we can talk about, and because he has a big passion for this. Yes, go ahead, Sarah. Please share that, Sarah. You can share the link on anyone. Jeremy Jackson has a question. Let me put him up. I love Jeremy. He's a good friend of mine.
Okay, if my federal suit has been sitting idle for a long time, what can I do to get them moving? Um, if I can't get a judge to make a ruling, basically what I do is uh, well, I'll do one of two things. One of them a little gentler than the other. One is I'll contact opposing counsel and the judge's assistant, and I'll just ask for a date that I can set a hearing. And that's the gentle approach. Okay. And that's where you're just letting them know on the opposing side and letting the assistant know, hey, I got a motion, hasn't been heard. I want to set a hearing on it, right? Um, Now, my less gentle approach is to just file a notice of hearing for a day that that judge has a docket. And judges and opposing counsel and their assistants don't like that. But it's not unethical, it's not illegal, it's not against the rules of civil procedure. It just the way you typically want to go about those things is you want to make sure everybody's available and they have space to do it. Um, and that's why you would contact them about scheduling. But if you're kind of having a hard time getting anybody to schedule a hearing on something, then that can be grounds to just file a notice of hearing for a regular docket day and let opposing counsel file a motion to quash or let the court summarily quash it. In which case, now you've preserved the fact that your motion is not getting a ruling for the Court of Appeals. And that way you can say to the Court of Appeals, look, the motion was never heard. I filed a notice of hearing, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of a legal maneuver.
Yeah, so Jackson, Jeremy, you're really, really smart. I really think you should listen to everything that Shawn's been teaching because I think you have a lot that you could do in your area and report the fraud. So, all right, let's continue going.
And you can prove that they are willfully ignorant and knowingly and intentionally indifferent, you could have evidence of a crime or an ethical violation.
Very cool.
Now let's talk about a dirty judge.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there.
Do you like catching dirty judges?
Yeah, who wouldn't?
Right?
Right.
It's fun, I think.
I've never done it, but I'd like to.
Not my first rodeo. Okay. So, look, judges are people, and there's a lot of judges. People don't realize how many judges there are, but there are municipal judges, administrative law judges, state judges, federal judges, immigration judges. We got judges coming out the yin yang. And if even a fraction of 1% of the judges in America are dirty, that's still a heck of a lot of judges. So, how do you find them? Well, the best way is to look for all the people who are complaining. Meet Leslie Ann Calabrese. You know anything about Leslie Ann Calabrese?
No.
Leslie Ann Calabrese was a family court judge.
I bet a lot of our followers, because Ohio is pretty big on that, so this is going to be an awesome episode for them.
Right. So Leslie Ann Calabrese.
I wonder if she's on our survey.
She might be.
I'll have to look that up.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
So anyway, this is a relatively recent case.
Yeah, it's in 2024.
Right. She faced removal from the bench. So that's what you're holding right there. Mm-hmm. But she was also charged with tampering with official records.
Wow.
Now, so in our last episode, I explained to you that typically what happens is somebody commits an error, okay? They either do something they shouldn't have done, or later on they realize that the thing they did do was really bad.
Right.
And rather than fess up to it, own the mistake, self-report to the bar, self-report to their insurance, take all the steps that a person would do to mitigate the damage. Instead of doing that, they double down.
They're like, I didn't do it, right?
Instead of doing that, they engage in a cover-up.
They engage in a what? I'm sorry?
A cover-up.
A cover-up, okay.
Okay? That's what Leslie Calabrese did. She steered a nearly $500,000 family court case to a lawyer who she had a relationship with. And she...
Like a physical, or like a sexual relationship?
So yes.
Okay.
So she had a relationship with this individual. She steered almost $500,000, if not more, to this lawyer, and then engaged in a cover-up to hide that fact once the person who got shafted in her court started filing requests for records. That's how she got charged, was she tried to change records so that she could hide how she got the case and how she steered it to this individual.
Wow.
And look at the dates on this.
Yeah, it's well, it's amended was February 1st, 2024.
Right. This is a post-COVID case.
Yeah.
So that's the risk these virtual courts run, is things happen behind closed doors purely by wire. And how are you going to find it?
Right. Is this a note?
Yeah.
That's so cool. I know it's early, but my house is still quiet. I know you're stressed out. You need to make love to me this week. I feel safe when I'm in your arms. This is
Right?
dirty drama.
That's spicy.
Spicy meatballs.
Yes, it is.
Jiminy Christmas.
But look at there. That's a wire.
Please be careful what you say about me and cases in front of Georgia. I'll fill you in on Thursday and Friday.
That's the shadow docket.
Okay.
Okay? There's no file stamp on this text
Which
message.
shadow docket we talked about in our last episode.
Yeah.
He explained that.
So a
go
shadow docket and an ex parte communication, that's communications that are happening outside of the official court record. There's no file stamp from a clerk on these communications, but nevertheless, they steer the outcome of the case. That's why we in the legal profession call it a shadow docket.
How did they get all this private information? Like,
So the way this started...
Because that's a private note.
Yeah, so the way this started was somebody got shafted in that judge's court.
And then exposed them.
And it's a family court. So they started complaining. They started filing requests for records. Some of these records you have to turn over. Mm-hmm. And that's when the cover-up started. Now, there were two types of investigations. There was the investigation here. You can see the Common Pleas Court
of Ohio.
Right. Mm-hmm. So there was the investigation by the court. And then there was the investigation, the criminal investigation.
Oh.
And then the family law lawyers, obviously at a certain point, had to confront the fact that a member of their bar had an inappropriate relationship with a judge and had been able to steer cases. Massive scandal. Massive scandal. But what I want to call attention to is that these people did not self-report.
Who's these people?
Leslie Calabrese and her lover.
Right.
They didn't come forward to their victims and say, this is what we're doing to you.
Right, of course.
They committed the fraud. Mm-hmm. They covered up the fraud. Mm-hmm. And it was only because these people did not stop and continued to investigate that eventually Calabrese was taken off the bench and indicted and convicted.
Like convicted, so she got a charge? Like
she got convicted of the felony charge of tampering with records.
Is she in jail?
I don't know if she's in jail right now.
Okay.
But she's now a felon.
Oh, yeah. You guys will have to really look at this. It'll be on our website at the Shawn Lee report. I'm sorry I didn't know who he was. I'm sorry I didn't know who he was. He made it seem like he was a runner for an attorney. So, like, this is them talking about Leslie. Yeah, them talking about it.
Look at the back page of here. Government watchdogs questioned whether Calabrese's judgment was unbiased.
So in this case, when this happens, do they go back and look at all the orders she put in for these cases?
So yeah, you betcha. If you were a person in Calabrese's court and you caught the raw end of the deal, mm-hmm. Well, guess what? You need to go take a good hard look at it.
Yeah. What is that? I'm Italian. Judge Leslie Ann says, she kisses Eve, everybody. I kiss everybody, Mark Tottery. Right? What is that? That just something that didn't come through?
That's some sort of photo.
And kissed him on the lips. This is cool.
Now the question I have to ask.
Oh yeah, look at they even have text messages between them.
Yep, those are wires. Mm-hmm. The question I have to ask is why the lawyer didn't catch a conspiracy charge.
Yeah, why didn't he?
Remember the elements of conspiracy. 2 or more people with an agreement to violate the laws and acts in furtherance of the agreement. Look how thick this packet is.
Yeah, look. Leslie says, what the F? Maybe Joe was going to buy her a house. They're literally talking about a case?
They're talking about a case privately.
And look, there's 30
wires.
people in this thread.
Yeah. They're using either iMessages or Android.
That's an
to do
iMessage.
these.
That's an iPhone.
Yeah. So this is iPhone. They're using iMessage to coordinate the court activities. How is that not conspiracy to tamper with a judicial officer?
Now she's on Pet Finder. I guess there's no, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. So here's claims. So claims are like charges, counts, correct?
Yeah.
So civil liability for criminal act. Look how long this is.
I know, they
Oh my
engaged in
God.
this. They hurt so many people.
Claim 2, retaliation against a public servant and witness. They retaliated against somebody for going
Yeah.
and aiding and abetting. Jiminy Christmas. This is crazy.
Yeah. The sheer length of that document illustrates how much they did.
A judge kiss and 450,000 plus in court work. That's crazy. Cool. This is awesome.
And look, there's nothing that prohibits a judge and a lawyer from having a romantic relationship. But you can't engage in shadow dockets and conspiracies to commit wire fraud and having conversations outside the court, outside the presence of the parties where you coordinate whatever you're going to do. Okay?
So, but if a person was smart and a judge is dating an attorney, they'd make sure their cases probably never went together, right? Couldn't they do that?
If you're engaged in a romantic relationship with a judge, and let's say, for instance, it was me, right?
You would pull out saying, I can't, it's a conflict of interest.
If I had a romantic relationship with a judge in a courtroom that I had a client with, that's something where I would feel very concerned that I would,
hurt your client.
that I would need to get an opinion from the bar on whether or not I had any ethical responsibilities. And number 2, you might have to disclose that to your client and say, look, are you good with this? In some cases, there are ethical, risks. And if you say to your client, hey, here's the potential conflict, and I think it's a waivable conflict, but I have a duty to tell you, I'm advising you in writing, here's what the potential ethical conflict is, will you waive it? Mm-hmm. And the client may say, look, you know what, I don't care what you and the judge got going on.
Of course, if it's your client, though, and you have the relationship, you mean the other party.
Yeah, well, and the other party. And so then you're getting into non-waivable ethical conflicts. There are some conflicts of interest that cannot be waived. Okay? And so that's, again, a situation where you can reach out to the bar and say, hey, look, here's what's going on, got a romantic relationship with the judge, got this party, got that party, here's the facts. What are my ethical obligations? And the bar will give you an informal opinion.
Well, and I will say I've seen, when I was watching one of these trials, and there was like 5 or 6 judges, and one judge stood up and said, I have to excuse myself because I'm a conflict of interest. And they left, and then they had another judge come in to sit in their spot from a different county.
Yeah.
And that was
that
cool.
happens.
Yeah.
I've had judges who've had to recuse before, and recusal by a judge is part of due process. Mm-hmm. There's other judges, there's other courtrooms. If they're unbiased, it shouldn't matter. Mm-hmm. We don't recuse judges just willy-nilly because we don't like their decisions.
Right.
But if there's a conflict, a judge recuses so that the person who's in their courtroom gets due process.
Correct.
And you can't weaponize that either. If you don't like the judge and the way the judge is ruling, that's an appellate issue. But if there's a conflict of interest, that's what recusal exists for.
Okay, that's cool. All right. We're back. Can you see my hair getting a little better because I curled it? Let me bring Shawn on.
Hey.
You know, people might not know I have to make sure Shawn tames his hair too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I put a question up already on the thing for you, Shawn. We have a lot of questions for you to answer. Go for it. Bam, go.
So a conspiracy of two or more, same agency or a law firm, child support agency, and opposing party. So if you look at the statute, none of that's in there. It just says two or more people. Okay. So it could be any of those. If you have an agreement and to violate the law and you take an actor in furtherance of that agreement, that's the elements. Doesn't say anything in the statute about a law firm or a child support agency or opposing party. The statute is very broadly worded because conspiracies, they're just something the humans do, you know? So the answer is yes, it could be all of those things.
Okay, so but guys, I want you guys to realize Shawn is a criminal law attorney, and so he's teaching us not how to navigate family court law. Okay, he's teaching us how to report the fraud within the family court. So I see a lot of people asking questions that you would ask an attorney. And so I don't mind putting things up, but Shawn's specialty is reporting fraud. The more that we report this fraud within the courts, the more people can start getting charged, and the more these people will actually start doing their jobs instead of just doing whatever they want, opinion based wise. Okay, I have. Here we go. Here's one question, Shawn.
Okay. I have my court transcripts where the judge repeatedly interrupts me and makes comments, assuming he can see what's really going on. Ms. Garza, without looking at the transcripts and knowing the full story, I'll try and answer the best I can. If
Would that be?
typically, go ahead.
Sorry. No,
Uh,
I was just going to ask you, what would that be? Would there be a fraud part of that or no?
Well, I'm trying to respond to it. So basically, what you're discussing are the rules regarding oral argument. The way oral argument works is, and that's what you were asking for. It sounds like you were trying to make some arguments, which is different than witness testimony. Anyway, basically, whenever you want to provide oral argument, you typically need to have a motion pending before the court, and then you need to ask for the court's permission for oral argument. So the way I typically go about that is, whenever I file a motion, I ask for time to be heard on the motion. And I set it for a hearing for when the judge has time, 15, and I typically try and tell the judge ahead of time how much I'm going to talk. So for instance, if it's a motion that, I just want the judge to rule on, I'll just say, Judge, I just need a ruling and I don't need any time for oral argument. And that's the situation where you just got a procedural thing. You need a ruling and you're just trying to preserve it. Whereas you might say, Judge, I think I'll need 30 minutes for oral argument, in which case they'll try and find you a spot on the court's docket where you can get 30 minutes. With that being said, if the judge denies your request for oral argument, well, that's an appellate issue, okay? Because a judge can do that. It's their courtroom, and they are charged with administering their own courtroom. And one of the parts of administration is making sure that cases, flow, move forward. So if the judge, cut you off. I mean, there's a transcript of that. You could take it up with the appellate court. You could potentially file complaints with the judicial commission. You could take it up with the judge. You could say, look, judge, you cut me off here. I wanted to make a point. I want to have another hearing date where I get to say what I want to say. So I hope that answers your question.
How do you request shadow dockets?
So Teresa, that's the trouble with shadow dockets. Okay, we have that terminology where we describe it, um, and it's incredibly difficult. Okay, that's why it's such a problem. So, the first thing you do is you ask your lawyer, "Hey, lawyer, I hired you. Were there any ex parte communications? Were there emails? Were there texts? Were you on any communications?" Um, and the answer may be yes, the answer may be no. I know I personally try not to have any communications that aren't either file stamped or written. And if I do have a communication, it's typically like, "Are you free on this day?" Specifically to avoid this. However, there are people who are the opposite of me, who are coordinating the entire case, with their little phones, like do, and texting it up and emailing it up, and none of it ever gets in the court's record. So the way to go about that is multifaceted. Number one, you need to ask your own lawyer what they've got. And then number two, you could, well, you've got limited options there. You could potentially ask for subpoenas um, through a lawyer, or through, if you're pro se, through the clerk's office. You could send subpoenas to people who you suspect having a shadow docket. Off the top of my head, I'm not fully familiar with how to like request stuff from the courts, because I really haven't done that before. Um, but actually, I have done that before. I had a prosecutor who sent an email to a judge, and I found out about it, and I sent a subpoena to the judge. Um, and so um, the other options are ethical bodies, the judicial commissions and the bar association. They can come in and say, what communications have you had? Um, and so, yeah, the long story short is that's why we call them shadow dockets. It's hard to find out that there's a secret text and secret email thread, because it's designed to not be part of the court's record.
All right, where does misuse of community-oriented policy falls into the conspiracy RICO as a retaliation tactic? It's a great question.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of multifaceted. Community oriented policing. Misuse of community orient. Well, I'm not quite sure what community oriented policing is. Um, yeah, I'm not sure how to respond to that.
If the case is closed, do you still contact that attorney, or do you request for those on your own?
Your attorney has an ethical obligation to retain your file for a period of time. It's typically a professional ethical rule created by either the Supreme Court or the bar. And so, technically, if they're following the rules, they're supposed to have that stuff, and they're supposed to let you see it if you ask for it.
Here's a long one. You might have to go in the chats to read that whole thing, Shawn, on your
Okay.
computer. I
I have
have
five.
5. Go ahead.
I'm
Yeah, you
reading
can read
it.
it.
I have 5 to 7 families with the same court actors willing to go to authorities. This includes a bribe deal being offered, steering false mental health diagnoses to be able to refer to the court's internal referral circle. Willful ignorance, you mentioned before, the trust funds. How would we investigate this on our own cases? Also, a thought, I believe these court actors are setting up organizable funds to move money and obtain money from the county state. Thoughts? Yeah, so I mean, that sounds pretty average. So funnily enough, I have some background in investigating this sort of thing. Um, there was a pretty famous series written by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Tony Messenger actually got a Pulitzer Prize for his reporting on this. And basically, it was Missouri courts. It was the 43rd Judicial Circuit of Missouri. And basically, what they had done was they had set up something very similar to that, where they steered uh, detentions towards a privately run jail facility, and that privately run jail facility, a portion of those fees went back to an organization, and I kid you not, this is its real name. Okay, it was the 43rd Judicial Circuit of Missouri, and the name of the organization that the private jail was paying was the Association of the Friends of Justice for the 43rd Judicial Circuit. And guess who ran that association?
Who? Of
The judges.
course.
The judges. Uh, and so the way that you track that is you go through the budget. So I'm a little bit of a nerd, and people who know me know that about me. And what I would do is I would go through the county budget and I would go through the court's budget and I would look for the footnotes. How much are they spending money on? How much are they spending? What are they spending it on? And does the county uh, financial records match the court's financial records? Okay,
That's a good one.
right? So the court, this is a court where you're alleging sort of it sounds like you're alleging a cash for kids type thing where these private companies are getting ordered, or people are getting paid to are ordered to pay these private companies, and these private companies are doing something with that money. And the thing about money is money leaves a trail. And so what you would go and do is you would look at the county financial records. You would look at the court's financial records, and then if any of those organizations are a quasi-governmental entity, you submit an Open Records Act request. So bear with me on this. A quasi-governmental entity falls into the scope of sunshine requests for each state. Now, it's not a governmental entity. A governmental entity is your court or your, county clerk, right? Or your prosecutor, right? Those are governmental entities. They have some exceptions to sunshine law, but a quasi-governmental entity is a private company that is court mandated. And so some of your court ordered companies qualify as quasi governmental entities, which means you can send them a sunshine request under your state sunshine law, and you can come at them for fines and you can come at them for your attorney fees if they don't turn over the records you request in a timely fashion. And so basically, what I'm telling you is you track the money.
Follow the money. Okay, one more question and then we're going to go on. You're going to have to go to the
Okay.
chat and read it again. It's too long.
Let's see.
Wake up!
Conspiracy question again. OC and his mother. I guess that's opposing counsel and his mother, who was the child support attorney, created monetary figures based on we don't know what. Both were her attorney of record also. Then filed and asked a judge to retroacted the fees, which in Oklahoma is illegal. Criminal complaint first, or try to collect documents. Okay. Lawyers making up stuff in family court. Well, that does not sound out of the ordinary at all. And that's part of the problem with the evidentiary standards in family court is it's different than criminal and civil law. Like in criminal law, I can't file something that I made up. In civil law, I can't file something that I made up. But in family court, the evidentiary standards are so low. So long as there is a shred of evidence the appellate court will defer to the trial court under the belief that the trial court is in the best position to determine what was true and what was not. And so that's why you get people who make up these, fake financial records. Now, there's a difference between being bad with finances and being and making false finances. So lots of people have a hard time with their financial situation because if you if you have a complex financial situation, you can have errors, and then that's what retroactive payments and getting different payments are for. But that's not the same as making up financial stuff based on figures that you can't justify. Um, so you ask whether criminal complaint first or try to collect documents, and the answer is both. From a statute of limitations standpoint, law enforcement needs to know as soon as you suspect there is a crime. Because you don't want the statute of limitations to run on the crime before you go to them, and there's kind of a warming up period. Nobody who's a fraud investigator for the law enforcement, if there even is one for your county, is going to come in the day the statute of limitations expires and say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to sift through this mountain of records and figure this out and file this charge." So let them know as soon as you suspect, as soon as you have a good faith belief that a crime has occurred.
All right, sorry, I put one more. I have a GAL that filed a rule to show cause, stating in it I paid zero of her fees. The opposing attorney filed a rule to show cause with the same complaint. I have the receipt of payment. What should I do? Is this a criminal complaint?
Uh, um, well, I'm going to give you the classic lawyer answer. Depends. Um, so GALs, they have, I think I could be wrong. It could be called a Staples motion, but basically it's some precedent that allows a GAL to ask for you to have your pleadings struck because you didn't pay them, which is the GAL saying to the judge, this person is going to lose their kids now. I mean, that's like a shot over the forward bow. And as we all know, GALs are what determine custody. So if you didn't pay the fees and the GAL filed a show cause, that's the GAL letting the judge know, I'm going to award the child to the other parent. The opposing attorney filed a rule to show cause with the same complaint. Again, they're just moving in for the kill shot. You don't pay the GAL, you lose your kids. That's the rule. And I have the receipt of payment. What should I do? Is this a criminal complaint? Well, if you did pay the GAL and they're filing false information, that could be potentially a criminal complaint. It could just be a civil issue. I know we all hate hearing that, but if the motion that they filed, you have evidence to show that you made the payment, then you file the receipt as evidence that the motion should be denied. Okay? And the court will be forced to deny it because you have a receipt. And an appellate court would overturn any ruling to the contrary. However, I said depends, because if that GAL and that opposing counsel have a conspiracy to artificially inflate each other's fees, then that could potentially be a criminal complaint because you're out of money because you're the victim of fraud. Okay? So it could be both.
Okay. Sorry, people keep asking good questions.
Okay. CPS had an assistant that assistant DA perjured everything in the initial filing, stating the child never lived with me, only with the mother, even though I've had 50-50 and the child's been here over 50% of her life. Okay. So it sounds to me like you made a leap here. I could be wrong, and feel free to believe that I'm wrong, but I have no doubt that the information that the CPS, the assistant DA, filed was wrong. I'm going to take you at face value at that, but that doesn't automatically mean that it's perjury. So the way that these things get filed, it's either police or a child protection service agent brings information to a prosecutor, and that prosecutor just files it. Okay. And the reason they do that is because there's so many of them. They might get, in a good weekend, a prosecutor may look at one, complaint, or they might look at 50 or 100 or 150. Um, and that's what the juvenile, court and the criminal process is about, is kind of sorting fact from fiction. Which of these are substantiated, which are not, which are we going to prosecute, which are we not going to prosecute. So I have no doubt maybe this person did file something, that was inaccurate, and there's remedies for that. But I wouldn't automatically assume that the assistant DA committed perjury. The information they've got just may have been wrong, and they relied on the person that they got it from. And so, yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
Unless you can prove that they relied that on no, I mean, it's their own lies, right? Unless you can prove that they knew, that all of that. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Prosecutors file, like, I would not have a job if every case a prosecutor filed was 100% on point on facts. That's what our jury trial process is for. I mean, police get stuff wrong all the time. Prosecutors blindly rely on the police. They go into a trial, and oh, surprise, surprise, their whole case falls apart. I would not be employed if that didn't happen.
Right.
Um, I'm just saying that it's not necessarily perjury. It's just something I've already said. We have more crime in America than we could possibly charge. Our police are underfunded, undertrained, underexperienced, underappreciated, overworked. Our prosecutors, some of these baby prosecutors are not properly supervised. Some of these senior prosecutors are, have poor judgment. Some of the policies and procedures that they have are just flawed policies and procedures. So I wouldn't automatically make the leap that just because false information got filed that it was perjury. However, if you find out at a later date that this person did file something perjurious, that they knew it was false when they filed it, then by all means.
Yeah, Tara, I don't know if you're talking about, is that on purpose to keep the system going at all? Um, I mean, that's what they want us to do, always be stuck in and keep paying the fees so they make more money.
Well, look, I think that there's the extent to which family law and criminal law are entirely different. Uh, in criminal law, there's constitutional rights, a constitutional right to a speedy trial, a constitutional right to face confrontation. We call it the confrontation clause. You want to make an allegation, you got to see somebody face to face. You have the right under the Constitution to confront your accuser. You get outside of that, you get into family court, and there to a degree is a a financial and political incentive to artificially inflate cases. If you can settle a case for $400 using some, client management skills, good investigation, getting everybody together and coming to an agreement, if you can do that in family court, you're not making as much money as a case where ping, 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 and the difference between criminal law and family court is in criminal law, we can't do that. We don't do that. There's constitutional protections from that in criminal law.
We talk about that. I don't was it this episode we talk about that? We talked about that, and I was really asking them those questions, so make sure you find that. Okay, one more. I always say this, but this was a good one too. You'll have to probably read it in the comments.
Okay. I filed a 60-page supplement, 48 admin complaint. Several of the items in the complaint I feel support 2 to 4 parties in agreement to commit fraud was reporting to authorities. Should the supplement 48 complaint be used as cause to file criminal conspiracy to the police? I mean, I don't know, maybe. So if you have, let me just kind of take this at face value. If you have 60 pages of stuff and you think there are 48 or no 2 to 4 parties, and it's, quality research, you're citing facts, you're citing names, places, dates, times, who did what, and is that grounds to file that complaint with police? And the answer is yes. The only way you get in trouble for providing information to the police is if you provide false information to the police, which is different than being wrong.
Yeah,
Okay?
purposely lying.
You can be wrong. You can be incorrect about something, but you can't provide intentionally false information. Okay? Now there are miscommunications, and miscommunications happen all the time. And that's why that's why attorneys warn people, hey, don't make statements to the police outside the presence of an attorney, is because if the police are investigating you, they're going to hear what they want to hear. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the one thing I do like about your written complaint is that what it does is it provides you to a degree a little bit of a defense. If you go talking to the cops, they can ask you follow-up questions, and the follow-up questions are designed to trick you into some sort of admission that they can then use to prosecute you. Whereas if you provide a written submission, it's a little harder for them to do that. They still get the information. You're still willing to come into a court, raise your right hand, swear under the penalty of perjury that you'll testify truthfully and accurately, but they don't get the opportunity to try and twist your words up to turn it around on you.
I guess I was wrong on Tara. She said I was asking on the criminal part. Hold on, let me go back to her comment. Is that the purpose to keep system going at all?
Yeah, I felt like I answered that one. I mean, that's the allegation that we're making, is that the only
She
way to
means that
win in
the
family
in criminal
court.
court. No, she's talking. I was asking in criminal court, on the criminal part.
In criminal court, like we try not to keep the process going. We either try and get the case thrown out, or we try and get it to a trial. Like there's only in criminal court, there's only moving forward. We are either throwing the case out, or we are moving towards a jury trial.
All right, let's go back over. Sorry, I was reading somebody's.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do a quick experiment, okay?
Okay.
Do you like my experiments?
Mm-hmm. Usually they're fun.
You like the last one?
Oh yeah, what was that? The text message you text me
Yeah, I text you a text message.
to that, like it was like the family app. That's a few episodes ago.
And there was what I text you, which you thought was funny. But then we played around with the idea of how, our friendly teleguardian ad litem would review that text message.
Right.
Our teleguardian ad litem, if I text you that I wanted to fry your chickens for our next conference and make omelets out of their eggs, our teleguardian ad litem, who's, off in Germany and working 250 cases in 3 different courts, and who's never actually met anybody, would read that text message and say, well, I can bill $500 for reading that message, and another $500 for sending wires to the doctor and to the lawyers about how Shawn is harassing Meg about her chickens.
Right. That's a whole other episode.
Right? Okay.
But that was
So-
the experiment he did. So yes, what's the experiment? Woo, woo. Walkie-talkies.
Walkie-talkies.
Okay.
What is a cell phone?
It's a way to communicate with people.
It's fancy radio.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
We type our little stuff into it. It either
goes
communicates
into-
with our Wi-Fi router, or it communicates with a radio tower. Right?
Yep.
All right. Right now, if I tell you to look at a document,
Okay.
I can show it to you. We can communicate. We can read each other's language, right?
Right?
All right. But now we're going to use the parenting app.
The parenting app? How do I do this? Where's the button?
Okay, we are now co-parenting by radio.
Where's my button?
I'm going to step out
right here.
now. Okay, Meg, you're now a co-parent on the parenting app.
Yay, lovely.
Okay, I need you to pick up that document in front of me and tell you what it is.
It's a document. Actually, we'll do the social media document.
Not that one.
What?
Not that one. I think we're looking at the wrong one.
This one?
The other one.
This one?
Meg, this is our kids. We're trying to co-parent. Why don't you get this right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Do you think it might be easier to co-parent if we were in person?
Yes, I think it would be a lot easier too.
How much money do you think is being billed for the people who are watching this conversation?
A lot, because it could be a lot of communication if there's multiple kids involved.
Yeah, okay. So, every time we miscommunicate over these walkie-talkies, it's $500.
I know. But what happens though if there is a situation to where it's unsafe between 2 parents?
Well, there's a remedy for that. You meet in the lobby of the police department with a civil standby.
And that's where you probably should communicate with the officer right there.
Law enforcement agencies offer this service all over the United States.
So you're saying we should get rid of this communication, the way of communicating, and then focus on in person. And if it's a good co-parenting situation, but if it's not, then you go to the police station and do it in the parking lot.
This is part of the scheme. You got to pay for the walkie-talkie. You got to pay for the lawyer to read the communications on the walkie-talkie. The guardian ad litem to read the communications on the walkie-talkie. The psychologist to read the communications on the walkie-talkie. To interpret your psychology surrounding your communications on the walkie-talkie. And then the judge is going to take your kids away unless you're good with the walkie-talkie. All right, you good with that?
No, I think it needs to be taken down.
Now,
Now you're not working. So also some parent, you can claim it's not working. The app's not working.
exactly. And guess what these walkie-talkies are?
Wires.
Exactly. I'm coming back in.
Come back in. Roger that. Over and out. It's been so long since I've talked to walkie-talkies, I kept forgetting to take the thumb off.
okay. So look, I wanted to demonstrate to you the absurdity of these court-ordered applications. Okay, right now you and I can communicate. You can plainly see that there's no tension, no difficulties. We're just 2 people trying to work through an admittedly complex topic. Fraud, just like parenting, is complex. But when we introduced the radios, that impacted things, right?
Right.
There's a financial conflict of interest, okay? Look, Billy Flynn, Saul Goodman, Hannibal Lecter, Cunahan, our friendly neighborhood teleguardian ad litem. That little conversation lasted about 5 minutes.
Right.
And if each one of them, minus the judge, is billing $300 an hour, then 300 times 4 times 0.1 is 30 plus 30 plus 30 plus 30 is...
Go ahead.
We just got billed $120 for that conversation.
Yep.
So now, not only are we miscommunicating, but we're going into bankruptcy doing it.
Yep. Exactly.
And that is part of the scheme. That's part of the scheme. So
is it
yes,
scheme or scam?
Scheme.
I say scam.
Well, the statute says scheme. Scheme and artifice to defraud. So it can be a scam.
What's the difference between a scheme and a scam?
It's the same thing, but if we're trying to get somebody indicted, let's use the terminology straight out of the statute.
Scheme.
It's a scheme.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Look, Cersei Baratheon and Robert Baratheon, they got problems. All right? Hold their radio up. They got problems. Cersei can chew Robert Baratheon's ass for free in person all day, every day. And Robert, likewise, can do the same thing for free all day, every day. But when you get these radios involved, all of a sudden, all these people have a financial interest in keeping them talking on the radio.
Okay.
Okay? The worse it gets, the more money they make.
So how do you prove that? By their invoices to show that they got on and looked at it?
That's why the first episode I said, get your invoices.
Right.
Audit your invoices. Because what happens is these two will co-parent, but they'll need a divorce, right? They get into the divorce process. They are not getting along. And what does the teleguardian ad litem and telepsychologist do? I am sitting over here in Bangkok from my hotel, and it looks like these two are high conflict. Mm-hmm. And once you develop the reputation for being high conflict, all they do is bill and bill and bill over your communications. And the thing is, you can be high conflict in person, and it costs nothing. But when you get high conflict designation on these radios, it costs everything.
So what happens when you find the invoice that shows that they did that? How do you make it say it's a scheme of wire fraud?
Cersei and Robert, if you pay attention to the shows, are typical of many families. They co-parent it. Not perfectly, but they co-parent it. Okay? And the way that you would see if it was a scheme is after the lawyers get involved, everything goes to crap.
Meaning that's when they start saying you're high conflict and all that?
There are two people who got along, had problems, but managed it. Then the lawyers and the GAL and the psychologist and the judge got involved with their little court-ordered parenting apps, and all of a sudden, the family has not been together in the same room for years. Everybody's on the internet saying all this crazy stuff, and the family has been bankrupted by mountains and mountains of legal fees. And all of it is wires. None of it happened in person.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So here, physical representation, yeah, but free.
They're not.
And now...
And they go bankrupt.
And now, yeah. $120 per argument. Okay. So that's the scheme.
All right. I'm tired. Anyone else tired today? I'm tired. Okay. There's been a lot of questions. Okay.
I am not tired. Wake up, Meg.
I know. I'm like, okay. Okay, here's a good one. There was another one I wanted you to answer, but this one's a shorter one.
Okay, what about the attorney who logs onto the app pretending to be the other parent, logging in using the other parent's user ID and password, communicating directly to the opposing party parent directly? Well, Derek, is it? Derek, that that might be something you got there. Okay? That happens. And what I would encourage you to do is consider two things. Number one, a law enforcement complaint, because that sounds like wire fraud. Okay. If you're getting on the app and you are saying stuff in order to artificially inflate your own legal fees, that's that's a big deal. Um, but more importantly, it sounds like a violation of the court's order. If the court says the parties are to communicate by the app and the lawyer is typing the messages, that's a violation of the court's order because the court's order is the parties communicate via the app. Okay? Not the parties are to conceal their identity, their parties are to have their lawyers conceal their identities and then create messages in the app for one another. So potentially that's a that could also be an ethical violation for that lawyer. So you're talking ethical violation for the lawyer. It could be a sanctions motion to show cause on the lawyer and the opposing party for engaging in such a thing in violation of the court's order. And if that lawyer is billing to artificially inflate their own fees, that could be wire fraud. Yeah. Now, it could even get more serious than that. I got asked earlier about the difference between conspiracy and RICO. RICO is two or more acts of the predicate offense. If the predicate offense is wire fraud and they did that two or more times, and that's a common thing that person does, that could be RICO. So you might have something there.
Okay. This one's a long one, but so just you don't have to read it out loud. It's long, but I like what she's asking. And you're gonna have to go in the chat. I pinned it. Can
Uh,
you see the pinned comment? It's Jessica
yeah, I'm
the
scrolling
master.
up. Oh, that is a long one. I'm an educational advocate in Missouri. I'm not going to read it all out loud. I'm just going to read
Yeah,
it.
that's what I said. Don't read it all out loud. Just read it. While he reads it out loud, did you guys share so more people know about this? Please share, like, and follow for more. Shawn Lee, his handle at on it, Facebook is attorney Shawn Lee. Let me know when you're ready, or just interrupt me, Shawn. I'm tired. I was up a little too late last night talking to a neighbor. That's who I hang out with, is my neighbors.
Okay, Jessica. So that's interesting. I'm actually a Missouri licensed attorney. So that one I can actually comment on to a better degree than something that's not where I'm licensed.
So can you
You
just
got a
give us,
few avenues.
well, just give us a scheme, like kind of what she asked, not so long.
Yeah. So you're asking, what do you do if you have information about corruption in a juvenile case? Um, and insider information. Well, you can do a number of things. You can do incredible damage. Um, so let me start by saying that this is common. People like yourself exist. You know, you get in, you work, you do your job, and you slowly, by nature of your good intentions and your work, start to realize, holy cow, I'm dealing with a completely fraudulent or unethical or illegal situation here, and I can't get them to stop, and they have no intention of stopping. Um, so who can I tell? What can I do? And the answer is not necessarily different than the answer I've given all along, except you could go to the office of the child advocate. Um, so number one, law enforcement. If you think somebody's in danger or there's a crime being committed, file a law enforcement complaint. It sounds to me like you're alleging that there are people who are not um, filing reports as mandatory reporters, who are creating fraudulent systems, who are um, doing things that are fraudulent in general. So law enforcement agencies, that would be the local agency, although I will probably bet you that the local agency is not going to look at it at all. But that's generally where I say for people to start. Potentially the highway patrol, since they're our state level agency, we don't really have a state um, uh, investigative agency outside of them. You could go to the attorney general's office, although I have not seen any indication from our attorney general that they care whatsoever about family court corruption. In fact, the Missouri Attorney General's office actually defended people who were accused of racketeering in our family courts. So I don't know how you, as an attorney general, keep a file for defensive allegations of RICO and the same file and a different file for prosecution of allegations of RICO. Sounds like a conflict to me. But then again, I have not yet been elected as the Attorney General of Missouri.
That's what we
Um,
want. That's what we want. That's what we
it'll take quite a bit of money for me to go up against the incumbents. I'll say that much. And I'm not a family lawyer, so I'm not bringing in that kind of money. uh,
want.
but the the other issue the other place you could go is the office of the child advocate. That's a office dedicated to holding child welfare systems accountable. Now, do they always succeed in that? No, but you can take it to them. And then finally, you can go to the media. The Kansas City Star, there's I think a reporter there. I can't think of the name of her, but she's done some investigations into the Missouri child protection system and some of their problematic relationships. Um, and so what you would do is a multifaceted approach: law enforcement, office of the child advocate, attorney general's office, and then the media. And then there's finally a lesser known route, and that's to go to the feds, but not just any feds. You could go to the oh, I can't think, the Department of Children or something like that. Anyway, there's like a federal agency that administers money given to these state level uh, children's divisions, and just go to them and say, look, they're using your money for fraudulent purposes. It's fraud, waste, and abuse. And since it's midterm election season, I mean, they might actually look into it. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Tara, it's the campaigning that costs a lot to run for any part of office, and usually the person with the most money wins.
Yeah.
So that's what you need
Citizens
to look at.
United. And I'm
Okay, here's
perfectly willing to compromise to get those campaign donations. But there's, I will tell you right now, part of the reason that this fraud exists, we should do an episode on it, is a portion of the fraud proceeds are pumped into elections,
yeah, yep, they are.
judicial elections and
Yep.
legislative elections.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, next up, Hannah.
My ex-attorney inflated his rate to get more sanctions from me, 650 in his motion compared to 425 on the floor to 150. Also, he's advancing so many false allegations since 2022. Now they want to jail me. The judge is helping him. This judge has history of misconduct. He was removed. I'm just going to read the rest in silently. Yeah, sounds like you got a lot going on there, Hannah. Hanan. I
Oh,
might have butchered your name,
sorry,
Hanan.
man. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, 650 an hour, really? Like, why?
Ah,
What did you
I
do that was worth 650 an hour? You know, uh, I, I mean, if it's yeah, what did you do that's worth 650 an hour? And that's the point I'm trying to make with artificial inflation is it is a scheme. So the beauty of Ponzi schemes is that you never get out. And people start out as legitimate business people, and then they develop these schemes sort of by accident, and once they're in them, they can't stop. So this might have been a person who and I'm just hypothesizing, I don't know this person, but it could very well be a situation where they started out billing 250 an hour. They figured out that they could artificially inflate fees, which would artificially inflate the amount of hours they could bill. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that I have a criminal case, and I know that if I just set it for a preliminary hearing, I can get the case thrown out. But if I waive preliminary hearing and set it for jury trial, I could get it thrown out still, but I could bill an extra $5,000 preparing for the jury trial. Well, if I don't do the first choice and I bill the person an extra 5 grand for something that could have been solved, that's artificial inflation. If I send a bunch of emails that I don't need to send, prompting opposing counsel to send a bunch of emails back to me that I bill to read, which prompts me to send more emails back, driving the fees from a $5,000 case into a $50,000 case, that's artificial inflation. And so that's why you see these family lawyers with these absolutely like astronomically insane billable hours, is because they literally have to charge that because nobody can, because they have so much work. But if you look at the stuff they actually do, some of it is artificially inflated. They artificially inflate the length of time it takes, the complexity of resolving it, the vitriol involved in order to bill that higher rate because they they have like this scheme set up. So I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah. Uh,
Sarah.
Sarah, I'm reading your question. Crystal with me here in Ohio is facing 30 years in jail due to state custody issue. Uh, wow. I need to scroll down and read the rest of that one. The detective still needs. Yeah. Uh, I don't know. You got a lot going on there. Um, Ohio, Alabama, facing 30 years in jail due to state custody issue. Alabama and sheriff won't take her police report. Okay, well, again, that's pretty complex. I don't know. Uh, I guess I would just defer back to the advice I've already given. If you think you have evidence of a crime, file it with law enforcement. Sounds like you've done that. If you think you have an appellate issue, get the appellate, lay your record at the trial court level so that you can appeal any adverse rulings at the trial court. If you think you got an ethical issue, file an ethical complaint. If you think the judge is violating the judicial canons, file a complaint against the judicial or with the judicial commission. And then, if you think legislative or media scrutiny will help, don't be afraid to go down to your legislator. Don't be afraid to talk to reporters about what you think is going on. But yeah, not sure how much I can help you on that.
If a GAL was removed from the case, refuses to mail me a detailed statement via mail, and wants to force me to log into her, what's the CLIO? What do I do?
Cleo.
What's
Yeah.
Clio?
Oh boy, what is Cleo? Oh, Meg, you don't know about Cleo.
No, I don't. What is Clio?
You don't know about Cleo. Okay, yes, you do know about Cleo.
What?
Remember us having our episode on social media?
Yeah.
Okay, Cleo is lawyer social media.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, is that where people go into their portals and can get stuff?
Sort of. It's a portal
Okay.
system for clients, and they sell different packages. And the trick about Clio is that once you're in Clio, you never get out of Clio. All right. There's no way to get out of Clio. And that's why she can't get her records. Um, so I've called Clio before and I've inquired of them about their, software. And I ultimately did not purchase a subscription because I thought that, it would, I didn't think it was right for my business. But long story short, think of it like Facebook for a lawyer. You can create a a account. You can give your client login credentials, and your client can dump whatever they want into that Clio. They can upload photos, documents, calendar. They can make payments. They can send you messages, and those are all what are all of those, Meg?
Wire.
Those are all wires, right?
Mhm.
Now, here's where it becomes potentially a fraud. That lawyer may not be printing out all of that because that lawyer may not be able to print out all of that. So, what arose after the shutdowns was these virtual law offices. And basically, it is nothing more than a lawyer with a laptop and a phone working out of their apartment. Okay. That's it. That's the whole show. There's nothing else there. No assistant, no paralegal, no, their address is their house. Um, there's no infrastructure. And that's a legal way of doing things. Okay. That's how I started out when I got out of law school. I was just I had a cell phone, I had a laptop, and I had a few clients who wanted to hire me because I was cheaper than everybody else. That's how we start out. Now, where it could potentially become a fraud is if you take a case and you don't have the infrastructure necessary to work that case. And so if you have a purely virtual reality going on, where your entire law office is online, you literally have nothing whatsoever outside of a database. That can be a problem because when your client says, "Give me the file," you got to give your client the file. Now, I personally don't keep a lot of paper copies, but if I need to serve a paper copy, I have the capacity to do so. If my client asks for a file and it's say like 5,000 pages, well, if they pay me to print 5,000 pages, I'll print 5,000 pages. But most likely, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a USB drive and they can go print 5,000 pages. I also serve my clients with paper copies of things. And so when she says that my the GAO was removed from my case, refuses to mail me a detailed statement via mail, and wants to force me to log into her Clio, there's red flags popping off for me as a lawyer. Is that GAL a bar licensed attorney? If so, they're bound by the trust accounting principles of bar associated attorneys. And why is it that they are not providing you with anything? And I think one of the answers might be they don't want to get charged with mail fraud in addition to wire fraud. Okay. If they've never sent a piece of mail, they can't be charged with mail fraud. If you send the mail, if you send the fraudulent bill through the mail, you can be charged with mail fraud. So, yeah, there's a lot of red flags popping off from what you're telling me, Miss Rice.
So yeah, Stephanie, you'll be able it's on YouTube right now, so you can go watch it. I don't think we'll probably finish it on here because we've been on here for so long. But this person sent me a private message and didn't want to be on fear of retaliation. So I'm going to read it to you, Shawn. Okay. I
Yeah.
have a judge that was sworn in a I have a judge that was sworn in as a judge while her husband was in state prison serving his felony conviction. I find it to be a massive issue that the Lake County Bar Association voted to submit the board member, I believe VP, to the court to vote for candidates, and they submitted out of 33 people a woman whose husband, who two-time convicted felon for a career of criminal activities such as DV conviction, drug possession conviction, and 5 DUIs. How does one go making sure the public knows that the bar gave the recommendation and the elected judges voted her in, with a husband serving a sentence in that state prison for a felony? The Lake County Bar then made her president of the Bar Association. Jeez.
Well, I mean, I guess the first question I would ask is what's the relevance? Um, you know, if your goal is to uncover bias that impacts your case, I guess the question I would ask is how is this relevant to your case? Because that's what any judge is going to ask. You know, being married to somebody who does all this stuff, I mean, that's kind of what we're here all talking about is that we all have family court cases. We all went to family court, all got shafted by family court. You can't control what your ex does. And so this judge, I mean, I don't know who this judge is, but like, so if this person's, you know, not participating in all that stuff their husband is in prison for, I don't see it as a disqualifying factor if they want to stay married to him. I mean, that's certainly a you know, a judgment call that they're making. But I guess I just don't see the relevance of that.
My JL billed for talking to the police and school. My case isn't the only one. Does that constitute as mail wire fraud? Their invoices are sent via email.
Um, so not necessarily based on what you're telling me, but potentially. So here's the way I would look at that is number one, invoices by email happen all the time. I send invoices by email. I mean, if you want to pay me by debit card and you want a receipt, I have the software to do that. Every law office has the software to do that. So there's no red flags from purely digital invoices. And also, there's not really any red flags from a GAL talking to witnesses. You want a GAL to talk to witnesses, okay? That's kind of their gig. You want them to go and interview the witnesses to the case. Now, let me give you a caveat on that, though. If they are doing this in a manner that artificially inflates their fees, that could be potentially a scheme. And let me give you an example. Let's say the GAL is talking to people and really not getting the whole story. You know, like it requires a site visit. You have to physically go down there and you have to see the site, or you need to meet with this person face to face, or you need to meet with them more than once because it's a complex case. You know, some of these cases are incredibly complex, and so you can't just handle it with a Zoom call. You need to develop a face-to-face relationship with a person that you're going to, you know, potentially call as a witness. And so if this, you know, and that's why we are so harsh on tele-GALs, if this tele-GAL is just zooming all over the county, calling and emailing and texting and then sending their little wire invoices, and they've not done a single shred of honest work, and their cases are all screwed up, and they're passing false information around on the internet, then potentially that could be wire fraud. So talking to police in school, interviewing witnesses, not a problem. Sending invoices via email, not a problem. The problem would be is the way they're going about it leading to artificially inflated fees, artificially prolonged proceedings, incorrect outcomes, or plainly prejudicial outcomes. In fact, or in short, is the GAL making more money because of the way they're doing it? Okay.
Our GAL uses email that is shared with her husband for court accommodation. She also told me I was not allowed to call. Wait a second. There was another one. I think I clicked the wrong one. Okay, here it is. Sorry. Had a GAL bill me for her defense when we tried to get her removed from our case because she had slept with the opposing attorney. Can she
Oh
bill me?
wow.
I know. I like your face. Can she bill me for that as a GAL? She also increased her rate great than allowable by the court for GALs.
Yeah, that has a lot of red flags. Um, so if that was a Tinder profile, I'd swipe left on that one. Um, yeah, so that I mean, there's so much going on there. That sounds like a blatant conflict of interest. So there's rules about sexual relationships. Um, there's rules about sexual relationships with clients and with, I mean, and with opposing counsel. I think it would be potentially a conflict, maybe a waivable one, maybe not a waivable one. Sounds like you're not willing to waive the conflict because you're dealing with it. So if your GAL is a licensed attorney, you can file a complaint with the bar. If your GAL is not a licensed attorney, then that takes the bar out. You can still file a complaint with the court. This is one of the things I hate about family court is that they hide behind these protective orders. And so
Mhm.
these people do this stuff. And because it involves kids, the whole case gets sealed and the public doesn't get to know this stuff. They don't get to know this that these people do this stuff.
Mhm.
Also, the bar is small, and that was what Calabrese got in trouble for. We just played that, and she had a sexual relationship with a lawyer. So some of these folks they do develop those sexual relationships, or just inappropriate relationships. So again, we should kind of make a pie chart like law enforcement. If you think you got a crime, and it sounds to me like potentially these two are conspiring to artificially inflate each other's fees. I'm not sure, but if you look at the billing and you can identify, say, over the felony threshold in Kansas, I think it's $750 or something like that. If you can identify over the felony threshold of fraudulent billing, then file a law enforcement affidavit, ethical complaint if it's a lawyer, um, ethical complaint for sure against the opposing attorney since they are a lawyer. They should not be having sex with the GAL. Um, and then potentially the media. Again, you may not be the only person there. So, yeah.
People are ding dongs here. Okay, there's this one, and then let's see. I think we're gonna get off in about 5 minutes.
Okay,
My
my
ex is
ex is
gonna.
an
Sorry.
attorney and slept with many involved, and the court refused to recuse itself. Wait, your ex had sex with a judge? I need some clarification on that one. So like this guy's like, or well, he or she is having sex with who in this hypothetical scenario? Uh, that one needs some clarification. But long story short, I would defer you to the Bar Association rules on sexual relationships. There are published rules on what constitutes a waivable conflict and a non-waivable conflict. A waivable conflict is one where you can just what it sounds like the client can waive the conflict. You go to the client in writing, you say, here's the conflict of interest. I'm counseling you on this. Now that you've been counseled on it, do you waive it? And the client could very well say, yeah, that's fine. I don't care. And then they waive it and you move on.
Judges, prosecutor, and court administrator. He billed a 29-hour day to the state of Ohio, and nothing happened to him.
Oh,
That's
wow.
from
Yeah, that's
Sherry.
criminal. Yeah, that's criminal. Can't do that. Uh, So that one, if you have evidence that your ex had sex with the judges, the prosecutor, and the court administrator, and he billed a 29-hour day to the state of Ohio, that sounds like probable cause for a felony. And for a judge to and a prosecutor and a court administrator to potentially be thrown off the bench. Um, and I would defer you to the Leslie Calabrese case. Again, the family law bar, something that you all need to take great comfort in is that there's not that many of them. Okay. Their victims greatly outnumber them. And the number of lawyers who are not a part of the family law bar greatly outnumber the lawyers who are in the family law bar. And so the only way that some of these crimes and ethical breaches exist is through a lack of awareness. And so the second that the greater, like all of the lawyers and all of the victims get together and start publicizing, that's the beginning and the end for them. It says Hall, one of them is now a Supreme Court judge. Okay, well, let me find a quick case for you. Hold on just a second.
Here, we can go listen to it while you do that real quick. Just let me know when you're ready.
Joseph A. Bevilacqua. Joseph A. Bevilacqua. Okay. So in America, we go off the common law, which means cases that have already been heard, we take up, and if it's the same facts and the same law, we just apply the same facts, the same law. So one of them is now a Supreme Court justice. Okay, well, I would point you to the case of Supreme Court Judge Joseph A. Bevilacqua. He was a Supreme Court judge. He got caught in a place called the Alpine Inn. He got photographed by reporters leaving the Alpine Inn with his fly down. Uh,
Wow.
Judge Bevilacqua liked, it's my understanding, he liked coke and hookers. And as I understand it, I don't have personal knowledge of this, but as I understand it, there's a lot of people in prison who like coke and hookers. Long story short, once the media photographed him leaving the Alpine Inn, the hunt was on. And again, that was a case that was started by the Providence Journal. Investigative journalists located him leaving the Alpine Inn. And then the state police began to investigate him, and he was subsequently removed. So
Spell
just
that
because
name,
of,
please. Sorry.
yeah, Bevilacqua, so it's Bevilacqua. He was the chief judge of the Rhode Island Supreme Court. So look, just because somebody's in a position of power does not mean they are immune. You have to go at them in a certain fashion. Again, law enforcement, ethical bodies, investigative journalists. Okay? Think of it like kicking the legs out from underneath a chair. If you kick just one leg of the chair, they might be able to stay standing up. But if you come at people like this from different angles, then what they do is they tend to feed on each other. The law enforcement, the ethical bodies, and the investigative journalists all uncovered a tiny little piece of the pie, and there's no criminal or organization that can sustain that. That's why criminal organizations do their very best to try and stay on the down low. Is concealment is their very best friend. And so once you have a group of victims and group of lawyers, specifically criminal law attorneys and personal injury attorneys who are aware that two or three lawyers or GALs or judges have this sort of thing going on, that's an incredibly bad situation for them.
All right, all right. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. Please go watch the rest of that episode. And next week, we come out with the next episode, and I can't even remember. Oh, that's about the mental. Mental. Will you give a little bit of sneak peek or talk about what the next episode that's going to go live next will be about?
Yeah, it's all about telehealth fraud. Um, the Department of Justice is well on its way to trying to recoup $1 trillion in telehealth fraud. And you think to yourself, what does telehealth fraud have to do with my case? And the answer is everything. Some of you have had psych evaluations, some of you have had children with medical issues, some of you have had opposing parents who've had psych evaluations and issues. I would point you to the Lindsay Clancy case. That was a woman who was a victim of telehealth fraud. So it's trending right now. Those psychiatrists, they dealt those drugs over the internet. And so the Clio question earlier, you're going to get into this when they look at those court ordered parenting apps and they look at Clio. So much of the information that's in telehealth comes from court ordered parenting apps and Clio, and they feed off each other. So it's
Mhm.
it's very much a part of the fraud. Oh, Meg, we need to try and come up with a name. We need to crowdsource a name for our nationwide group.
Your what?
For our
Oh,
nationwide group. Yeah.
yeah. I think you should put a post on it, a poll, and let people decide.
Okay, well, we need some ideas from people uh, on what we would call the nationwide human trafficking of children. Like this group has got to have a name for itself.
Right. Shawn, what did you come up earlier today?
I've heard scam, which is the Stop the Child Abuse Machine or Stop the Child Abuse Mafia. I've also heard CANS, which is Child Abuse and Neglect Syndicate. And basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide a name for all of the people who facilitate child abuse and neglect. Like we have names for all the agencies and people who try and investigate and stop child abuse and neglect. But what about all those court actors and all of those paid witnesses and private
Mhm.
companies who were making that $700 an hour or $1,000 an hour in order to facilitate
Yep.
child abuse and neglect and trafficking? They need a name. You know, every big criminal organization has a name. You got the Bloods, you got the Crips, you got the Sinaloa cartel, uh, Jalisco New Generation cartel, uh, Mongols, Hell's Angels call themselves a club, but you know, so there's
Like biker
names
boy
for
or
all these
biker men.
organizations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bikers.
yeah. We're
Set
just we're
status.
just we like riding motorcycles. Yeah, I know you
Yeah.
do. I know you do. But there needs to be a name for this nationwide network of cells that specialize in helping people engage in neglect, abuse, and the trafficking of children.
Mhm. Well, let's put those 2 in and do a, I think we should do a poll and kind of explain what it is. So, I'll probably take this as a reel, and we can do that.
Yeah, I would just like put a post and just come up with your best acronym. We need to be able to call, you know, this syndicate or this nationwide group something
Yeah.
so that
Mhm.
people all over the country can unite and say, I know for sure this person or this
Person is.
office over here, I know for sure they'll take money to do stuff that they should not do, you know?
Mhm. Lauren, I don't know what state you're in, but go ahead and go to the report page. Make sure you fill out the survey. We're here to teach people on how to report the fraud. I'm here exposing the court actors to help people's cases. If you reach out to go to the survey, you'll be able to start finding other people in your county that may help you. And that is how we stop it, is expose what they're doing. And once you find other people that are going through the same thing, because there are, then that will help you with your case. So, that's what I have for you, sweet girl, and I've trust me, I've lost my 5 kids, so I know what you're feeling. Okay, well, thank you for this coming on the Stand with Meg show. That was a 2-hour long live with Shawn. Thank you so much, Shawn, for spending your time today answering questions. And again, go to standwithmeg.com. You can watch all the episodes. Click on the Shawn Lee Report. You will see all these episodes with the documents. I'm actually uploading today's episode we just launched right now, the documents on there. And as well as donate, please, and give Shawn a follow. Shawn, thank you so much today. Your Facebook handle is
Ooh, Attorney Shawn
Attorney
Lee.
Shawn Lee. I know it more than you. We need to change your Instagram one too. But
Yeah.
and hopefully next we will be. I think we're gonna film next week for the next ones, and then so we'll keep rolling them out. So keep spreading the posts from your Shawn and I and the reels so people can start learning more and more about how to get this fraud exposed and hopefully get people put in jail.
Don't forget to plug yourself a little bit, Meg. I mean, you do a lot of hard work. You
Oh,
need you need support. You need financial support. We're trying to help everybody. There's no way that we can get to all of the people. My inbox, my emails, my texts, my phone blow up. I know yours do too. And so you depend entirely on these people to keep going. So don't
mhm.
forget to plug yourself and just ask people to subscribe, like, and provide, some sort of assistance. Because the only way to do this that makes any monetary sense is to put on a show, let people watch them, give them the tools to help themselves.
Right. And I appreciate that. It really means a lot, Shawn. Yeah, please go donate too as well. I have had a few people sign up to give monthly automatically, which was very sweet and nice. I think they're giving $10. So anything like that really helps us do this because it's been multiple times where I just want to give up because I'm exhausted of all this. I'm tired of being broke. But when then you hear about another story of a little girl, a little boy, and it breaks my heart. And hopefully one day you'll see Shawn and I in Congress changing some things and getting some stuff done.
Hey, it's important to have goals, and I think that is a legitimate goal is for there to be congressional hearings on fraud in our courts.
It's every Sunday. We're trying to do every Sunday, David, around 4 p.m. Either we'll do it in person, like together, or like we're doing now. And so that's what we're trying to do. We don't have any people watching us, but we're going to keep trying to do it because that's the best thing we can do is keep fighting through, even though we don't. I don't know if it's the program we're using, but we don't get a lot of watchers. So sharing is a big deal for us. Shawn, do you do 1983 work? Thanks, Tara. Thanks, Laura.
Oh, the do I know how? Yeah. Do I do it? No. I typically the people who have 1983 work don't have the money for 1983 work. Because they've already been, royally screwed over. And I I just don't have a treasure chest that I can go dipping into to live off of to sue somebody for a long period of time without any sort of payment. So,
I did it 1983, and I've known
yeah.
multiple people did it themselves, and I will tell you, even federal judges are just as corrupt sometimes as the district judges and state judges. So, until we start getting the judges to actually follow what they're supposed to be doing, then I don't think really anything works until there. I have done a few 1983 against DCF and stuff in California that did win. Um, I have a reel about that. It was pretty cool. Um, my cat is getting on my vibrating plate. Plate.
Yep, of course. That's right. File that in an affidavit in family court. We'll believe that.
You know, I'm tired. Oh my goodness. Okay, we better log off before I say anything else. That's gonna get me in trouble.
Yep, yep.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Stand with Meg. Stand with the Shawn Lee Report. Thank you for being here.